In the desolate Nevada wilderness, far from any trace of life, a forsaken Mustang foal lay on the brink of death. Everyone assumed the harsh desert would claim the young horse, as nature often does. Yet, when an elderly gray wolf approached the struggling foal, an astonishing event unfolded, one that turned everything we thought we knew about wild creatures upside down. This incredible meeting between a predator and its prey will reshape how you view compassion and survival, showing that the deepest bonds can form in the most hopeless moments. Before we dive into this tale, please take a second to subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up and activate notifications. Your support helps us share more uplifting stories like this one with the world. The Nevada desert sprawled endlessly beneath a punishing summer sun. Amid the scattered sagebrush and jagged rocks of the Ruby Mountains, a 3-week-old chestnut Mustang foal lay crumpled on the ground, his breath shallow and ragged. Later named Ember, the foal had been torn from his herd during a fierce summer thunderstorm that scattered the wild horses across the vast range. Too young to match their speed, he had wandered off course, ending up miles from his mother and the safety of the group. For 2 days, the foal staggered through the scorching heat, his small frame rapidly succumbing to dehydration. His unsteady legs, still awkward with youth, finally buckled beneath him in a shallow dip near a parched creek bed. Ember's once vibrant chestnut coat was now matted with dust, dulled by suffering. His eyes, clouded with fatigue and fear, gazed blankly at the boundless sky above. Each breath grew weaker, his tiny ribcage struggling with every faint rise and fall. A quarter-mile away, hidden in the shade of a rocky overhang, a pair of amber eyes observed silently. Dusk, an aging gray wolf with a weathered, scar-covered face and a grizzled muzzle, had caught the foal's scent at dawn. At 12 years old, Dusk was ancient for a wild wolf. Once the leader of a strong pack, he had been driven out by younger, more powerful males. Now solitary, his hunting days were mostly behind him. His joints creaked with arthritis, and a cracked canine tooth made killing prey a painful challenge. Surviving on small animals and carrion, the dying foal seemed like an effortless meal for the old wolf. Dusk edged closer, his movements precise and quiet despite his age. Every instinct urged him to wait until the foal's breathing ceased entirely, but something unexpected held him back, just 20 yards from the collapsed horse. A sudden shift in the wind brought new scents, coyotes closing in from the south, and something else, something human. Dusk froze, ears twitching, caught between the lure of food and the threat of danger. The foal, perhaps sensing the predator, weakly lifted his head, his eyes locking with the wolf's across the dusty expanse. In that fleeting moment, something unspoken passed between them, a connection that defied the laws of nature. Dusk took a step closer, his choice made. But what would he do next? Was this the end for the foal, or would destiny step in to alter the course of events in this barren wilderness? As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long dusks over the desert, 2 lonely lives hung in a delicate balance. Dusk inched forward, his gray muzzle close to the ground, amber eyes fixed on the foal. Generations of instinct screamed that this was prey, weak, dying, an easy target in a brutal land where survival demanded ruthlessness. Yet something made the old wolf hesitate. As he drew nearer, the foal made a frail attempt to stand, managing only to raise his head briefly before collapsing back into the dust, sending a faint swirl into the golden afternoon light. Dusk paused, his scarred head tilting slightly, curiosity flickering in his gaze. 10 miles away, Laura Bennett gripped the wheel of her worn pickup truck as it rattled along a rough dirt road. At 32, Jessica had spent 10 years studying Nevada's wild horse populations as a wildlife biologist. Her latest project tracked the Ruby Mountain herd, and today, reports of a lost foal had sent her into action. "We're probably too late, Tom," she said to her colleague, who scanned the horizon through binoculars from the passenger seat. "If the herd scattered in that storm 2 days ago, a foal alone wouldn't survive long out here." Tom nodded somberly. "Still have to try? The satellite tracker shows the main herd about 15 miles north now. If we find him alive, we might reunite them." Jessica tightened her grip on the wheel, her knuckles paling. She'd seen too many orphaned foals perish in these mountains to hold much hope, but giving up wasn't in her nature. Back at the dry creek bed, Dusk had closed the gap to the foal, standing just 5 feet away. His nostrils flared, taking in the scent of the fading Mustang. The foal's eyes, once full of life's promise, now reflected only fear and surrender. Dusk had witnessed death countless times. As a pack leader, he had delivered it to many prey animals. But now, alone and aged, something within him had shifted. Perhaps it was the wisdom earned from years in a merciless world, or maybe his hunger wasn't desperate enough to drown out his curiosity. The wolf circled the foal slowly, studying it from every angle. The young horse's breaths grew more strained, his tiny body trembling with dehydration and exhaustion. Dusk recognized the signs. This wasn't a swift end but a slow, agonizing decline. In an unexpected move, the wolf lay down a few feet from the foal, resting his grizzled head on his paws. He would wait, whether for the foal's death or something else entirely. Even Dusk might not have known. As the afternoon faded, the foal's condition worsened. His eyes began to flutter shut, consciousness slipping away. Then, Dusk did something extraordinary. He stood, approached the dying horse, and gently nudged the foal's neck with his muzzle. When there was no response, the wolf glanced at a nearby hollow where, miraculously, a small pool of rainwater lingered from the recent storm. Dusk looked back at the foal, then at the water, a silent conflict stirring in his ancient eyes. Miles away, Jessica's truck jolted over a rugged stretch of terrain. "I see something," Tom called out, pointing toward a rocky outcrop near the dried creek bed. Neither he nor Jessica could yet see that, in the waning daylight, an old predator was making a choice that would challenge everything they understood about the wild. As dusk painted the desert in shades of violet and gold, Dusk acted against his predatory instincts. Instead of waiting for the foal to perish, he moved to the small pool of rainwater. Dipping his muzzle into the precious liquid, he returned to the collapsed foal, water dripping from his fur. In a stunning act, he began licking the foal's parched muzzle, transferring moisture to the horse's cracked lips. The action was intentional, almost calculated, as if the old predator knew exactly what the young prey needed. The foal's eyelids twitched at the sensation, his swollen tongue making a feeble attempt to respond. Encouraged, Dusk repeated the process, traveling between the pool and the foal several times. On his third trip, he tried something even more retomable. He tugged gently at the foal's mane, urging the horse to move without causing harm. After several failed attempts to rouse the Mustang, Dusk lay down beside him, pressing his warm body against the foal's side to share heat as the desert night grew cold. Jessica and Tom had abandoned their truck half a mile back, where the terrain became too rough to drive. They continued on foot along the creek bed as darkness closed in. "We should have brought floodlights," Tom muttered, switching on his flashlight. "Daylight's almost gone." Jessica didn't reply, her eyes catching movement ahead, a gray shape against the dim landscape. "Tom," she whispered, grabbing his arm, "look. Is that a wolf?" Tom raised his binoculars, squinting in the low light. "I think so. And there's something else, maybe our foal. But the wolf isn't attacking. That's not right." Jessica quickened her pace. "Unless the foal's already dead." But as they approached cautiously, what they saw stopped them cold. The old wolf lay beside the foal, and as they watched, he rose, went to the water pool, and returned to wet the horse's muzzle again. "That's impossible," Tom whispered. "Wolves don't. I know what wolves do." Jessica interrupted softly, her voice barely audible. "And this is something I've never seen in any study." The wolf suddenly noticed them, his head snapping up, amber eyes catching the flashlight's beam. Instead of fleeing, Dusk stood firm, positioning himself between the humans and the foal. "He's protecting it," Jessica said, stunned. For a long moment, the trio, wolf, woman, and man, stood frozen in a scene that upended everything Jessica believed about wildlife. Dusk gave a low growl, not hostile but cautionary. Jessica slowly reached for her canteen. "Tom, I'm going to try something." "Stay still." "Jess, that's a wild wolf." But she was already moving, unscrewing her canteen and pouring water into a collapsible bowl from her field kit. With careful steps, she placed it on the ground and retreated. Dusk watched, muscles taut, ready to bolt or fight. When Jessica and Tom backed off, he approached the bowl, sniffed it, then looked at the foal. What happened next would alter their lives forever. Instead of drinking, the wolf delicately lifted the bowl in his jaws and carried it to the foal, setting it near the horse's muzzle. As night fell over the desert, stars emerged to witness a bond that transcended the ancient divide between predator, prey, and human. But would this fragile alliance be enough to save the foal? The desert night grew frigid as Jessica and Tom set up a small camp 20 yards away, working quietly to avoid startling the wolf. They pitched a tent and unpacked supplies, their movements cautious. "I've called the mobile vet unit," Tom whispered, returning from the satellite phone. "They'll be here by morning with 4 fluids and equipment. But honestly, Jess, I don't think the foal will last the night." Jessica nodded, her face grim, as she prepared another bowl of water laced with electrolytes from her kit. The foal's condition was dire: severe dehydration, potential organ damage, and the desert's extreme cold working against him. "What about the wolf?" Tom asked. "Grant won't like us saving a foal with a predator nearby." "Grant's not here," Jessica said firmly. "And I'm not scaring that wolf off after what we've seen." She approached slowly, setting the bowl a few feet from Dusk and the foal. The wolf's eyes followed her, but he remained still. Jessica noted his appearance in the flashlight's glow: graying muzzle, scarred face, a slight limp as he moved to inspect the bowl. "He's old," she murmured. "Probably can't hunt well anymore." "That might explain this." Dusk carried the bowl to the foal, nudging the horse gently to drink. Revived slightly by the wolf's earlier efforts, the foal managed a few sips. As the night deepened, Jessica and Tom kept watch in shifts. Around midnight, a new danger emerged. Coyote howls echoed across the desert, growing closer. 4, maybe 5, Tom estimated, grabbing the rifle they carried for protection. Dusk heard them too, rising stiffly, ears alert. The foal, sensing the threat, tried to stand, lifting his head weakly. Jessica watched as Dusk positioned himself between the foal and the approaching coyotes. His hackles rose, and despite his frailty, he looked fierce. "He's going to defend it," she said, incredulous. One old wolf against a pack. The coyotes appeared at the ridge, eyes glinting. Dusk's deep growl rumbled through the air. The lead coyote paused, wary of the old wolf's defiance. "We have to help," Jessica said, grabbing a flashlight and her hiking stick. "Make noise." Tom joined her, and they shouted and clanged equipment, creating a racket that echoed through the night. Caught between the wolf and the humans, the coyotes retreated after a tense standoff. Dusk stayed alert for nearly an hour before settling beside the foal again, positioning himself to face the coyotes' direction. Deliberate protection, Jessica whispered to Tom as they returned to their tent. "I'm documenting everything. This could change how we view interspecies behavior." At dawn, a helicopter's roar woke Jessica. The vet unit had arrived early, landing half a mile away. In the morning light, Jessica checked the foal. To her amazement, he was still alive, his breathing slightly steadier. Dusk sat nearby, weary but vigilant, his sides heaving. When he saw Jessica, he stood shakily, swaying from exhaustion. "He's been up all night," she realized aloud, guarding him. The sound of vehicles made Dusk's ears twitch. He looked at Jessica, then the foal, then back at her, as if passing a silent responsibility. With a final glance at the foal, he limped toward the rocks, his task seemingly done. Jessica watched him go, a realization dawning. The wolf had done all he could. Now it was her turn. Dr. Sophia Carter, the lead veterinarian, worked swiftly to assess the foal. Lines delivered fluids as monitors beeped against the ancient desert backdrop. "It's a miracle he's alive," Dr. Rodriguez said, checking vitals. "Dehydration, malnutrition, exposure. He should have died days ago." Jessica glanced toward the rocks where Dusk had vanished. "He had help." Dr. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow as Tom explained, but Jessica showed her the footage she'd recorded. Dusk bringing water, lying beside the foal, facing coyotes. The grainy video stunned the veterinarian. "This defies predator-prey dynamics," she murmured. "Have you shown anyone?" "Not yet," Jessica replied. "I need to understand it first." Their talk was cut short by the foal's sudden distress, rapid breathing, dropping temperature. "We're losing him," a technician called. Dr. Rodriguez rushed back, ordering warm fluids and blankets. Jessica watched helplessly, glancing at the horizon, irrationally wishing Dusk could return. In a moment of clarity, Jessica approached Dr. Rodriguez. The wolf scent. The Foal associates it with safety. Can we try something unusual? The veterinarian nodded. Jessica gathered dirt and fur from where Dusk had lain, placing the scented cloth near the foal's nose. The effect was subtle but immediate. The foal's breathing eased, his tension fading. Well, I'll be damned, Dr. Rodriguez muttered. By noon, the foal was stable enough to move. A sling carried him to the helicopter for the Wild Horse Recovery Center in Carson City. Jessica stayed behind, compelled to find Dusk. Tracking faint paw prints, she found him in a small cave, lying on his side, breathing heavily. His eyes met hers with recognition, but also resignation. The night's efforts had drained him. You did the impossible, she told him softly, sitting at the cave's entrance. You saved him when every instinct should have told you to kill. As evening fell, Jessica called Dr. Rodriguez. Elena, I need another favor. There's an old wolf here, the one who helped the foal. He's fading. 3 weeks later, Jessica stood at the rehabilitation facility, watching Ember, now thriving, devour his meal. No lasting kidney damage, Dr. Rodriguez said, joining her. We're planning his reintroduction next month. Jessica's thoughts drifted to Dusk. They walked to the predator rehabilitation area, where Dusk rested in a large enclosure with a platform overlooking Ember's paddock. Nutrition, arthritis medication, and dental work had restored some vitality, though his age was unchangeable. He watches Ember daily, Dr. Rodriguez said. The staff schedules their time so they can see each other. Dusk rose at their voices, approaching the fence. Hello, old friend, Jessica greeted, kneeling. The wolf pressed his nose to the fence, recognizing her visits over the weeks. The board meets tomorrow, Dr. Rodriguez said. Ember's path is clear, recovery, then release. But Dusk, they both knew the challenge, too used to humans for the wild, yet a wolf who'd known freedom. I've been thinking, Jessica said. What if there's another way, one that honors his bond with Ember? That afternoon, Jessica pitched her idea to the facilities board, a sanctuary where Dusk and Ember could live, neither fully wild nor captive, preserving their unique connection while educating others. This wasn't just a fluke, she said, sharing her footage and research. It's interspecies empathy that redefines wildlife behavior. The viral video, over 10 million views, had captivated the public, dubbed a modern fable. After debate, the board approved a trial sanctuary. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Jessica found Dusk on his platform, gazing at Ember's paddock. We did it, old man, she said. It's a chance. 6 months later, Open Horizons Sanctuary spanned 50 acres near Carson City, with meadows, woods, and rocks mimicking Nevada's wilds. Jessica watched Ember graze with 2 other Mustangs, while Dusk rested nearby, now with a small pack of rehabilitated wolves. Yet he often watched Ember alone, maintaining their bond. Night footage showed Dusk calming Ember during a nightmare, settling nearby until the horse slept peacefully. They're not friends like humans understand, Jessica told Dr. Rodriguez. But Dusk still protects him. That evening, horse thieves struck the sanctuary, taking Ember and Dusk. Search teams found an abandoned trailer 3 miles away, with signs of a struggle. In a ravine, Ember stood alert, Dusk wounded but alive nearby. The wolf had escaped, tracked the foal, and fought off the thieves. As Dusk healed, their story inspired global research into animal emotions. Dusk's Legacy Wildlife Center grew with international support. 2 months later, Jessica watched Dusk walk a new enclosure, Ember trotting beside him through reinforced glass. At the center's dedication, she spoke. We think compassion is human, but Dusk showed it exists across nature, in places we never looked. Their story proves connections can defy instinct, even in our darkest moments. If this touched you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We share inspiring animal stories weekly that will shift your perspective. Comment below what moved you most. Share this with someone who needs it today.